Welcome, 8th graders. I am so excited to be with you today. Let's dive right into this explainer because we're tackling a skill that is literally going to change the way you handle your assignments. Today, we're talking about reading with purpose. We're going to stop treating reading like just another chore and start setting up a clear destination before we even read the very first word. Think of it as your academic GPS. Now, be honest. Have you ever read a whole page, gotten to the very last sentence, and then realized you remember absolutely nothing? It's like your eyes tracked all the words, but your brain was completely on airplane mode. Yeah, we've all been there. It's frustrating, it wastes your valuable time, and frankly, it makes studying feel like this massive mountain to climb. But today, we're going to fix that. Here is our roadmap for today's lesson. First, we'll look at the destination, which is finding her purpose. Second, we'll check out God's order in learning. Third, we'll break down 3 specific ways to read. Fourth, we'll talk about putting this into action. And finally, we'll wrap up with the godly learner philosophy. So let's jump right into part 1, the destination and finding your purpose. Why does your brain desperately need a clear target? Well, think about the core difference between just staring at a book and actually learning from it. Reading without a purpose is exactly like taking a road trip with zero destination. If you just jump in a car and drive, you're wandering. You might see some cool things, but you're wasting time, burning gas, and ultimately you aren't getting anywhere specific. But navigating is when you read with a clear destination. You stay super focused, you know exactly what turns to make, and you remember the key details. Having that clear purpose helps you stop wasting time on parts of the text that simply don't help you hit your goal. And it's actually kind of wild how your mind works here. When you know exactly why you're reading something, your brain physically changes its approach. It clicks into high gear. It starts actively scanning for the specific information it needs to understand the message. You're not just surviving a text anymore, you're turning reading into a powerful tool that actually works for you. Which brings us to part 2, God's order in learning. You see, this isn't just some neat academic trick. It connects deeply to how God actually designed our minds to function. 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, "Let all things be done decently and in order." God is a God of order, not chaos. When you sit down to study without a game plan, that's chaos. Your mind is completely scattered. But when you establish a purpose before you even begin, you're bringing godly order right into your study habits. You're moving your mind from chaotic wandering to absolute decent and intentional clarity. It honors God when we use the minds He gave us efficiently. All right, moving on to part 3, 3 ways to read. So how do we actually pull this off? Setting a specific destination totally transforms how you travel through a text. The absolute first step, before you read anything, before you even crack the spine of your book, is to stop and ask yourself one simple question. Why am I reading this? Seriously, did your teacher assign this passage to help you learn a new math skill, to understand a historical event, or maybe to analyze an author's style? Knowing your goal before you start changes the whole game, because your strategy drastically shifts based on your answer. If your purpose is just finding specific info, like a date in history or a vocabulary definition, you're going to skim and scan the text really quickly. Your eyes will just dart around looking for keywords. But if your purpose is analyzing meaning, like trying to understand a character's deep emotional struggle, you definitely can't skim that. You're going to have to read slowly, pause, and think deeply about the weight of every single sentence. It's the exact same book, but an entirely different reading strategy. Let's break this down with some real-life 8th grade scenarios. First up, reading for detail. If your assignment is to learn the steps of the water cycle in science, what do you focus on? You're hunting for the diagrams and the bolded definitions. Second, reading for enjoyment. If you're reading a short story just for fun, you aren't trying to memorize definitions. You're focusing on the characters, the dialogue, and those awesome plot twists. And third, reading for analysis. If you're assigned to study an author's tone in English class, your eyes need to hunt for descriptive language, metaphors, and very specific word choices. You see how the why totally dictates the how? Let's look at part 4, putting it into action. This is where the rubber meets the road. How do you actually use this on your homework tonight? Well, here are 2 immediate action steps you can take. Number 1, physically write your purpose at the very top of your paper or notes before you read. Having it right there, totally visible, keeps you anchored. Number 2, as you read, actively highlight or underline sections that connect directly to that goal. If a sentence doesn't serve your purpose, do not highlight it. This is going to keep your brain super engaged. For your specific assignment tonight, you'll need to list 3 reading strategies you're going to use based on your specific purpose. Then, you'll write a short paragraph explaining exactly how having that purpose shaped the way you read your text. Finally, you're going to compare your purpose with a classmate. It is honestly so fascinating to see how someone else might approach the exact same text with just a slightly different goal in mind. And that brings us to our final section, the godly learner philosophy. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to slow down just a bit and talk about something incredibly close to our hearts here. Learning how to read efficiently is amazing, but what is the ultimate goal of all this learning? Here at HeroesMart Academy, we intertwine biblical morality with education, because education without morality can actually hurt. Think about it. An intelligent person without a moral compass can use their sharp mind to do a lot of damage. Knowledge and intelligence should help you make wise, God-honoring choices, rather than simply making you more capable. We don't just want you to be capable, we want you to be truly, deeply wise. Romans chapter 8, verses 6 and 7 teaches us that keeping the mind spiritually minded leads to life and peace. So as you build these awesome academic skills like reading with purpose and analyzing texts, I want to encourage you to relentlessly pursue academic excellence. But as you do, always keep your mind centered on God, truth, wisdom, and righteous choices, because that is what leads to true life and peace. So, 8th graders, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. As you tackle your assignments tonight, as you write your purpose at the top of that page and set your mental GPS, ask yourself, will your education simply make you capable, or will you let God's wisdom make you truly wise? Have a fantastic time stowing with purpose, and I'll catch you in the next lesson.